As the examples show, we cannot talk about workplace learning in isolation. We need to understand the workplace environment as well. In this chart, the circles represent an organization. Within this, we have the productive system, which refers to the flow and organization of production, the learning culture and the structures within the workplace, and the ways in which the vocation and profession operate. The overlaps in spaces create learning conditions or learning possibilities that individuals can make use of. But an organization doesn't operate alone. We tend to think of the bigger picture context as external to the organization. Things like the market structure, policy, the value chain in which the firm sits, relations between institutions such as the educational providers, the policymakers, government agencies, employer bodies, and the way those institutions interact. These are often discussed as external factors, but they are all embedded in everyday practices. Good conditions for learning drive improved performances, as seen in the case of the hotel chefs. What do we mean by learning conditions at the workplace? This list was developed by School and Reichborn. Let's explore each of these conditions. High degree of exposure to change refers to technological change, organizational change, changes in products, services, and equipment. This creates a need for learning. A high degree of exposure to demands could come from senior management, customers, regulatory requirements, colleagues, etc. In the case of the chefs, for example, they understood their performance standards very clearly. In addition, a lot of learning in Norwegian workplaces involves keeping abreast of market developments, products, work methods, and more. It's not about reaching a higher level of education, but about staying updated. Jobs with managerial responsibility tend to be more learning intensive. This is because of the degree of accountability involved and the diversity of tasks. All these factors motivate learning. External professional contact refers to opportunities to participate in professional forums outside the company, as well as opportunities for contact with customers. These exchanges allow employees to reflect on what's happening in your workplace. You learn by drawing from those experiences. Direct feedback is critical. It provides direct opportunities for learning based on the feedback received. Employers who receive management support tend to work in service industries. Examples include wholesale, retail, food and beverage, hospitality, and transport. The most learning-intensive jobs often come with the greatest demands and should, therefore, receive the greatest support. This sets in motion a continuous cycle of learning. Reward of proficiency is dependent on the opportunity to learn through seeing the direct results of one's work. It is less prevalent in small companies engaging in wholesale, retail, food and beverage, and hospitality services. On the whole, an organization can increase opportunities for learning if conducive learning conditions are present. Based on our studies at the Institute for Adult Learning, we can add more conditions to the list. It's important to view the learning process with the belief that everyone has the capability and potential to flourish if we enable them to do so. This applies to individuals, teams, and entire workplaces. With that in mind, we can consider the following factors: the industry infrastructure and relations, systems of production, the flow and organization of work, the way in which tasks are divided, the structure and degree of hierarchy in the workplace, as well as the culture. Although both cases mentioned had a hierarchical structure, there were still differences present. Workplace discourses, which refers to the communication styles and messages in the workplace. For instance, is it okay to make mistakes, provided that you learn from them? Will you be reprimanded? How else can you manage mistakes? Lastly, what assumptions are being made about the capabilities of employees? In the example of the chefs, the workplace culture assumes that the trainee chefs are highly capable of growing, developing, and learning. In the case of the nursing aides, it was assumed that they would or could not learn. All these factors allow for the exercise of individual agency. there was a greater sense of agency in the chefs than the nursing aides. These conditions provide opportunities for access to learning and create affordances for workplace learning. Another way to tackle this issue is through questions such as, does the organization have a commitment to learning and the development of its employees? Is this commitment widely known across the whole organization and accepted by its employees? Is the organization prepared tangibly to commit resources to employee development? Does the organization have a track record of collaborating with other organizations, public and private, for the purposes of employee development? Is it willing to invest in support structures for employee learning? Is the work of the organization the type that supports constant learning, as seen in the case of the chefs? All of these factors contribute to the potential of learning at the workplace. Try out the exercises in the next section to see how your organization stacks up.